Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Patrick Murphy. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Patrick, you a turkey guy?
I'm a food guy, Dave. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't turn much down. My favorite Thanksgiving food though, is pumpkin pie. I am a huge pumpkin pie fan.
I was going to ask. We're going to go. I was like, turkey. Okay, you are. You're not a picky eater. I give you credit for that, which is good. I am somewhat of a picky eater. I get better with age. I used to be extremely picky. I'm still overall pretty picky. All right, you dark meat or white meat?
I'd probably prefer dark, but again, I'm not. I'm gonna eat whatever is available. If only one is available, I'll take either.
And then, yes, guys, we are going to get to things like JJ and Carnell, but one more important thing here: favorite side dishes.
Ooh, my mom makes a green bean casserole. I've had various versions of green bean casseroles. All are good. Some are better than others. The one my mom makes is I really like, and I encourage her to make it every year, regardless of where we're doing Thanksgiving. So that's good. Any sort of mashed potatoes, always good.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah, again.
Oh yeah.
Not picky on that, but the green bean casserole. At least you feel like you're doing something healthy as you eat way too much food on a day that isn't even really about food. But
remember that cream of mushroom soup and the onion, the onions, the crispy onions really aren't that healthy. But no, I love green bean casserole too, and I like mashed potatoes and gravy. I would mix it with the turkey and the mashed potatoes and gravy, just all chopped together. I love it. Yeah, stuffing is another one. All right.
Stuffing's good, yeah.
I'm getting hungry now. Family, food, right. Football. It's like definitely, if not my favorite holiday, one of them for sure. All right, so let's get to our vibes with what we're hearing about JJ and Carnell. Like I think JJ is going to play, and we'll see how healthy he is. He's one shot away from not being that healthy. You can say the same thing about Jordan Marshall from Michigan. Carnell, I'm not as positive. I've been told he's expected to play from two people I trust very much, but I think if he does play Patrick, I think he'll be on a pitch count to some extent. Give me like a percentage. I know we're just guessing here. Give me a percentage chance for each. Let's go with JJ, and then we'll go with Carnell. Like, what percentage do you put on it that JJ will try to play or will play?
For Jeremiah, I would say, at this point, I think it's close to like 95%. I don't think you go on the Caleb Downs podcast. We talked about this in the Bucknuts Instant Reaction show yesterday. Like, Caleb's too smart to have a guy on and ask him that, and then he's not even close to playing, right? Or something like that. Ryan Day, I thought, when he was asked about it on Tuesday, seemed much more, I don't know if relaxed is the right word, but just like it felt like he was, these guys are trying really hard. There was an extra really in there this week. So it's just, I feel like the vibes are trending that way. And then you add in the fact that I'm sure you remember this. I'm sure people remember who are listening. Right before Big Ten Media Days, Jeremiah was on a podcast and he's asked about the Michigan game. He said he's not losing again to the team up north. And then he doubled down on that at Big Ten Media Days. Like, it wasn't like, I was just, no, he said, I'm not going to lose to them. Hard to not lose to them if you're not playing. So I think he will be out there unless his leg falls off or something. So for me, it's pretty high for Jeremiah. For Carnell, look, I think he wants to be out there just as much. I don't want to take anything away from his attempts to play. I think it's something that seems to be lingering more than Jeremiah's. And look, that's both based on what I think we've both heard, but also the fact that he's not played in 3 weeks. Jeremiah played 1.5 of those games, right? So clearly it's bothering him more or limiting him more, whatever the case may be. So I would say 70-ish%. Like, I'm still pretty high on Carnell playing. I do think it'll probably come down to Saturday morning and how he feels. When he wakes up and gets out there. Wouldn't be surprised if he's questionable on the injury report at 10 a.m. and then goes out there and sees how warm-ups go just to be sure. But I guess we're all kind of questionable if you really think about it, right?
We're all day to day, right? We're all questionable. Yeah. Sometimes I'm doubtful.
Yeah, me too.
But like, yeah, we got Emily saying 100% for JJ, 80% for Carnell. Everybody's kind of in the same boat here. Like we got Brian on YouTube saying JJ 90%, Carnell 60. Pat, you were about 95 JJ, and you were saying 70 for Carnell.
Yeah,
75?
yeah. I think everybody's about the same. Like the vibes are much better this week that it's going to happen than I feel like. I'm talking outside of the building. Than I feel like it was last week. Last week I kept seeing people saying like they're both out, we're screwed, stuff like that. And I don't feel like people feel that way. So I guess everyone's kind of feeling the same way that I think you and I are. Well, not everyone, I guess.
Big John has Coach Day to win for my birthday, which is today. Happy birthday!
Hey, there you go. Happy birthday,
Big John. A little before Thanksgiving birthday. So your birthday, and then Thanksgiving, and then a win over Michigan in 3 days, right? Is that
pretty good?
That's all you want for your birthday, right? Just minor stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with you guys. I'll be very, very, very surprised if JJ doesn't play. I don't know how effective he'll be. I imagine even 85% healthy, he's going to be very, very effective. And we'll see about Carnell. I agree. We won't know until we know. Let's get to Lorenzo Styles Jr., Zoe Jr., as they call him. Probably out, if I had to guess. Again, just the way it looked, and this is the second time he's injured that same shoulder. It looked pretty bad. And Coach Day was a little more ominous the way he answered that question yesterday, Patrick. I'm not saying for sure he's out. I'm guessing he's not going to play.
Yeah, that does seem more, like you said, ominous. I do think that given that this seems to be a reoccurring thing for Lorenzo, if it's just the fact that the shoulder's popping out and you got to pop it back in. I had a buddy, I think we've talked about this before on the podcast. I had a buddy in high school who we played soccer together. His shoulder popped out all the time. He literally popped
baseball with the same deal. He'd slide into second base, and they'd tell him don't slide head first, but he still would pop it out, pop it right back in.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what's going on with Lorenzo, but it definitely looked like the shoulder. I will say the way he walked to the tent, like it wasn't like, oh man, here we go again. Now, granted, we are way up in the press box trying to look down. Steve's got his binoculars. I'm watching Lorenzo. Like it looked like, kind of a hurried walk. Like maybe you're trying to get in there, pop it back in, get back out there. And obviously, Ohio State didn't need him. Good reps for Bryce West and some other guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is available if they need him. Are you concerned about the slot though for Michigan? I know we're going to talk advantages, disadvantages here in a little bit, but like, are you that concerned about Michigan's slot? I mean, obviously you can move guys around as receivers, but for me, that's not a position I'm too concerned about in this matchup. So like maybe you start with Bryce West there. You can always move Jermaine Matthews in there if you need to. But I would, just based on what we saw, and Ryan Day said he thought Lorenzo was going to practice this week. Like I would not be surprised if he's available if you need him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were done there. You kind of.
Oh, sorry.
That was an abrupt stop. Maybe I just didn't hear you very well. That could be it. My hearing's now going. Yeah, I think Bryce West is going to play. But here's another thing I wanted to get to. And I was already going to bring this up. We have a question on, or at least a comment in the chat. I agree. I think we're going to see a lot of 3 linebacker sets. We're going to see Peyton Pierce out there a lot. And we've seen like Matt Patricia do that at times this year when he's facing a team that really doesn't have a passing attack. Now, Michigan's picked it up recently. I will say Bryce Underwood, he's had moments, like he's had, and then he said that he's inconsistent as a passer, but he's got all the skills. It's easy to see why he was such a highly rated player. He stays poised. But yeah, that being said, Michigan is not a good passing team. They can run the ball. I think Ohio State's going to go in there. I know I'm not breaking news here. They're going to be like, all right, if you're going to win this game against our defense, you're going to have to throw the ball. We're going to come at you. We're going to stack the box. And that means I think we're going to see a lot of 3 linebacker sets in 3 days.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Andrew Marsh and Donovan McCulley are 2 guys that are definitely talented receivers. Don't get me wrong here. But this is not the Ohio State passing attack when it's at its best. It's not even, Illinois with a veteran quarterback, Washington with Damon Williams when they're on. So I think there is certainly things to be concerned about in terms of, hey, we actually have to cover there. But I think 3 linebackers and these cornerbacks should be able to handle that all right. That is not a major concern of mine, I would say. I think being able to stop that run game is, and I think Peyton Pierce with Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles certainly helps in that department.
Yeah, I wondered, because we have obviously Devin Sanchez is from Texas, and Marsh, who's a really good receiver for Michigan, true freshman. He's from Katy, Texas, and we have Mrs. Sanchez in the chat. Devin's mom saying, "Listen, I told my friend Eleanor, Marsh's mom, it's war Saturday." She gets it already. The Sanchez's were like Buckeyes, like they got it right away. Sometimes you got to be here for a while. Even G. Scott Sr. told me, I don't think I really hated Michigan like my son's freshman year. And then progressively he learned to hate Michigan. The Sanchez's have jumped right in. They get it.
Yeah. I have talked to several parents who were like, yeah, I watched this rivalry when it was on Saturday, but it was never really, I didn't understand it. And then, we come on our recruiting visits or we do this, that, or the other thing during the process. And you learn pretty quick. And I think, you've seen that. I know obviously you'd rather have the results go the opposite way the last 4 years, but it's not like Ryan Day has diminished this rivalry in any sense, right? You can tell it still means something. And I think the way that players, parents, families learn the distaste for Michigan is a proof of that, that they're not downplaying this by any stretch of the imagination. The color blue still not a favorite inside the Woody Hayes, even though, they're not handing out extra T-shirts like Urban did early on.
Yes. You could be wearing a Columbus Blue Jackets shirt in there and Urban will give you something else to put on. Maybe that was the one exception. All right. So, let's get to Ohio State's biggest matchup. We can go on each side of the ball. I mean, clearly the biggest matchup advantage for Ohio State, in my opinion, is Ohio State's defense overall against this Michigan offense, but particularly Michigan trying to throw the ball against this Ohio State defense. I mean, they're going to make life tough on Bryce Underwood, to say the least. This is the best team Ohio State's faced, not necessarily the best offense, but definitely the best team they faced. Maybe Texas, you could argue, is better, but playing Texas at the Horseshoe compared to playing Michigan at the Big House with everything on the line, I think this will be the toughest game. That being said, I think it's going to be really tough for Michigan to throw the ball on this Ohio State defense. So that's a big matchup advantage right there. And then that plays into Ohio State being able to control the running game even more if it works out that way, if they're able to not let Bryce Underwood beat them with the pass. And they're going to get their share. I mean, as I said, Marsh is an excellent wide receiver, and his best football is still ahead of him. But I think that's a big matchup advantage for Ohio State right there, as Ohio State's defense is maybe the best Ohio State defense I've ever seen. And Michigan is a one-dimensional offense, and they're down to really just two running backs now because, as we know, Haynes is out for the year, and we don't know how healthy Jordan Marshall is going to be. So that's a big matchup advantage I see. So give me one on each side of the ball, or you can just pick one, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, well, I'm going to sort of play off what you said. For me, it's Matt Patricia against Bryce Underwood. And I know that they're not going to go head-to-head, but when that headset goes off at 15 seconds, like I think back to the Texas game and Arch Manning. And I know Arch Manning wasn't a true freshman, and I know Bryce Underwood's started all season, so he's got more experience than even Arch did at that point. But I think once that coach-to-player communication cuts off, like that's when Matt Patricia can start playing games. And if you look at the defense, like if you can look from the all 22 angles, the last several weeks, really, like the pre-snap stuff that we were talking about early in the season where Ohio State lines up like this, and then right before the snap, they shift, and now all of a sudden the quarterback's looking at something completely different. We haven't seen a ton of that. They've been fairly vanilla, and I think that's intentional. I expect that the Buckeyes will be trying to play mind games, Matt Patricia in particular, with Bryce Underwood and this offense. I also think Arvell Reese, just, again, the different things he can do. Like, that's also a guy, him and Sonny Styles, if Bryce Underwood's going to try and run, I think back to Damon Williams in that Washington game, he takes off, and Arvell Reese is just quicker to close an angle on him than anyone he's seen. And all of a sudden you've got what would have probably been a touchdown for most others is a 2-yard gain, I think, for Damon Williams. So how Bryce Underwood handles sort of the athleticism that he'll see from Ohio State, I think will be crucial as well.
Yeah. And I know people are worried about like the weather. I don't think considering it's like the end of November in Ann Arbor, it's going to be cold, but it's not going to be that bad. It's going to be around 30 at kickoff, they're saying. Sounds like the snow's going to hold off till later in the day. Yeah. We don't know. Again, it changes every day.
There'll be snow flurries. It'll be cold because that's what it is every year. But yeah. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
And any quarterback will tell you the wind is the biggest thing. And if it's really wet, wind is the biggest. And it's not going to be like void of wind, but it's going to be like 5 to 10 miles an hour. Again, I'll take it. I mean, again, and the weather's the same for both teams, but like it was never going to be a pristine day, and it doesn't seem like it's that bad. So I don't think weather's going to be a huge factor.
Real quick, Dave, I forgot to answer the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
For me, it's not that you need to win the run game, like Ryan Day said. And Ryan Day did not bring that up yesterday, which I thought was good because that's been something he's brought up the last 4 years, that the team that wins the rushing battle wins the game. But I do think you need to establish some run, like show some confidence off of what you have had success in the last couple weeks, and just take some pressure off that passing attack, even if you're at full strength. Carnell and Jeremiah Smith are out there doing their thing. I think you need to be able to run the ball to some degree successfully in this game if you're the Ohio State offense.
Yeah, I think Ohio State, even with the issues at wide receiver, again, I think we're all very confident JJ is going to play. We're even somewhat confident that Carnell is going to play. And then with Max Clare, and I think some of these guys that maybe people have been down on, or maybe not, people aren't down on Bryson Rogers. He didn't play a lot last week. Mylan Graham maybe was a little in the doghouse a little bit. Maybe Quincy Porter will play. We just had a question about that. Coach Day said he's not sure about that. One of those guys will need to step up. But when you add this wide receiving core with Ohio State's tight end group and the way Julian Sand throws the ball, Michigan's got a good defense, but I think their front seven's better than their secondary. So even on a cold day in Ann Arbor, I think that's a big advantage for Ohio State, is Ohio State's passing game against Michigan's passing defense. Well, Michigan does a good job of pressuring the quarterback. And no one's really pressured saying that much this year. So he's going to get, and Wink Martindale, well, I don't think he's on Patricia's level. Like he still was a longtime NFL defensive coordinator. And,
he's
done a good job there. He hasn't done a great job. He's done a good job there. So they'll definitely have some things up their sleeve, just like Ohio State will. Let me ask you this. We don't need to make this a long show. We'll get you out of here on this. College football playoff rankings came out last night. Obviously, we knew there was not going to be no movement at the very top. Anything surprise you? Anything notable from the CFP rankings?
No, not really. I think, we've kind of learned what this committee is going to do. They seem to value good losses over good wins, which is an interesting way to look at it. The top five stayed the same. I think not that it affects us in terms of covering Ohio State and being fans of Ohio State, but like that line about 10 where the cutoff will probably be to be an at-large team in the college football playoff. It's going to be really interesting. I know Alabama should be in if they handle their business in the Iron Bowl. But the Notre Dame Miami debate, obviously those two teams played in week one, and that game hasn't really mattered in terms of their ranking. Oklahoma's probably out of things in the SEC, but if they handle business this week, like they're right about that spot too. And then I think the projected bracket, like last night was the first time I really looked at what matchups might be. If you're Ohio State, I think you want no part of Notre Dame right now. I mean, I think you'll play anybody because especially if you're the number one seed, I think you feel good about it. But like Notre Dame, to me, that's the team that's playing as hot as anyone right now. And, I know Ohio State obviously lost the Michigan game last year, but it feels to me like that's a team that could go on an Ohio State-like run in the playoff, especially if teams aren't, ready for them with that rushing game, that defense. So that's a team where if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'd rather see them on the other side of the bracket. And, if you meet, it's a rematch of the national championship game.
That'd be pretty crazy if the rematch of the national championship game happens in the quarterfinals. It'd be nice if the rematch of the national championship game happened in the national championship game, to your point. Sign me up for that. That'd be really cool. I'm sure Notre Dame fans would be signing me up for that too. Let's run. And
another thing with that, like we've seen these teams play, right? Like going back to when they were playing in the regular season, and not that Ohio, the game in Ohio Stadium ends up being a comfortable win, but like, they've just played Ohio State tight, right? The national championship game and kind of coming back in that one last year. I think you want to push Notre Dame off on someone else's problem as long as possible right now. But there could be some really fun matchups in this playoff, given kind of the rankings right now. Georgia's starting to come on. Alabama's obviously played well recently. I think Oregon with that win against USC finally showed, hey, we can do some things. And they're banged up too. I mean, like this is not a full strength Oregon team. They'll only get healthier. And then obviously we'll see what happens if Ohio State and Indiana play in the Big Ten championship game. But I can't get Indiana football. Like, I haven't fully grasped that Indiana football is Indiana football right now.
Right.
But like, if you took the helmets off and put someone else's helmets on, it's like, well, that's one of the best teams in the country. I wouldn't want to face them right now. But then I see that IU and I'm like, oh, it's Indiana. And so I just keep having this internal monologue, especially as I kind of think ahead to the potential Big Ten championship game matchup. I was talking with some friends last week and it's like, well, look, they played last year. Ohio State handled business. Is this a better Indiana team? Yes, I think Ohio State wins. But also, like, if you showed me the stats without any name attached to it, I'd be like, wow, that's a really good football team. So I don't know. We can talk about that next week after Ohio State handles its business. But it's just that's another team in the playoffs that I don't think people want to face, even if they lose in the Big Ten championship game.
We'll get you out of here on this little short-ish show today. But I'll get you out of here on this. I have to do a CBS HQ hit along with Sam Webb from the Michigan site. We're going to be live on CBS HQ at 11 a.m. today, talking Ohio State, Michigan. So tune into CBS HQ for that. I'll get you out of here on this. There's been a lot of debate about, should the group of five, highest ranked group of five, should that even be a thing? Like, if they're not, in the top 20 or top 15, we're really going to let Tulane in? I don't have a problem with it. It's like you have 12 teams. Let the group of five have their, I guess you could say it's like a token, nod to them. But, I like that there's one Cinderella, at least, that's going to be in the field.
I agree. And I think, look, if we didn't do rankings all season and you have preconceived notions of these programs, kind of like we're talking about with Indiana, who's had to work their way into being relevant, but at least they're in the Big Ten. I think there would be group of five, group of six teams that would get ranked higher up if you're looking just how they're playing. Are they competitive in the games they play against the Power Four and all that? So, yeah, I think they should. I think it's good they have automatic representation in there. Does it necessarily give you the best 12 teams in the country? No. But if you're including conference champions and stuff like that, you're kind of eliminating some teams anyway. That's what I was just saying about the cutoff line being around 10. That means, at least as it stands right now, you're saying BYU and Miami, who are ranked 11 and 12, don't get in. So we're already not putting the best 12 teams in the committee's eyes in. I'm fine with having a group of five team in.
Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, we really need another at-large from one of the Power Four conferences, the fourth, fifth, or sixth place team. No, give the group of five, throw them a bone. I like it.
It probably keeps an SEC team out, if we're being honest.
Yeah, exactly. The Big Ten's only chance of having four teams in is if a disaster strikes for Ohio State on Saturday, and then Michigan would get in at 10-2. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Some people say they wouldn't be a lock. Yes, they would. Their win would be 10-2 with a win over number one Ohio State, or I guess it previously number one Ohio State. So they would be in. All right, great stuff, man. I appreciate it. He is Patrick Murphy. Thank you, sir.
All right. Talk to you later, Dave. If I don't see you, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Enjoy that. You said pumpkin pie?
Pumpkin pie.
Yeah, enjoy that pumpkin pie and enjoy everything. The family, the food, the football. I've been wanting the Bengals to actually be able to play on Thanksgiving. It's never happened during my lifetime. And finally this year they are. And it's like, oh, God, the team sucks. But we are getting Burrow back. And hopefully Jamar Chase didn't spit on anybody this week. But this defense has got to be the worst defense in NFL history. That's no hyperbole. I think it's the worst defense in NFL history. All right, I'll send you out of here. And your Rams are the Super Bowl favorite right now, the betting favorite. And I buy into that. The LA Rams look good. They look good. I have a buddy, speaking of high school baseball, another one of my high school baseball players, not the teammates, not the guy that popped his shoulder out. One of my buddies is the strength coach of the Rams, as you know, Pat. Yeah. So I kind of root for the Rams a little bit. They still tick me off knowing what happened in that Super Bowl, but I like McVay. I love my friend Justin Lovett is the strength coach. So I'm rooting for your Rams. All right, buddy. I'll get you out of here. Thanks, Pat.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Patrick Murphy. Thanks to his insights there. Yeah, that's right. We're going to be still basking. Man, that's going to be nice to be basking on Saturday. It's just going to be nice. And hopefully I'll do a What We Learned show following an Ohio State win over Michigan for the first time. We haven't been doing What We Learned live that long. I think this is our fourth year doing it. So I'm 0-3 so far. Can we turn that around? Can we get a W? Because if not, we're going to have 3 million Michigan fans listening to the podcast and they're clowning in the chat. So don't need that. Need to get that win. Go to the Big Ten championship game. Take care of business there. Get the number one seed. And then bask all the way to Miami for the national championship game. By the way, I was like rewatching the 2001 Michigan game, where the Tressel 310 days game, where Ohio State jumped out to like a 23-0 lead and then had to hold on for dear life because Jonathan Wells was just killing them, and then he got cramps. He wasn't drinking his pickle juice, so he got cramps. And really, it was those cramps. Like once you get those cramps, you can drink as much Gatorade as you want. You can even drink as much pickle juice as you want. Once you get the cramps, it's hard to get rid of the cramps. That's why you got to prevent the cramps. He tried to go back in, couldn't go in. Without Wells, they couldn't run the ball at all, but they got up 23-0 in the first half. Michigan was obviously favored. It was in Ann Arbor. And I forgot about this. Speaking of basking, after the game, Tressel's answering reporters, that little if you guys have never seen it, I'm sure you've seen it on TV. That press room for the visiting team at Michigan Stadium is tiny as heck. You're packed in there. It's this little room, and Tressel's there at this little table. And I forgot about this because this was on the video I was watching, the press conference, and Ohio State reporters were asking him stuff. Tim May, of course, asking him questions. And a Michigan guy, you can tell he was all salty. This Michigan reporter goes, "Coach Tressel, I can tell that you're basking in the glow of this win." He kind of just said it real sarcastically. And Tressel looks at him and goes, "I don't know if I'm basking. We're basking." I just thought that was funny, all the still basking stuff that we've done. And then I forgot that Tressel actually was asked about, "Oh, well, you look like you're basking in the glow of the win." Well, damn right he's basking in the glow of the win. He said, "I'm going to come up there in 310 days and beat you." And he did exactly that. Of course, he's basking in the glow. But I thought that was – and Tressel just kind of looked at him like, I wouldn't say I'm basking. Yeah, you are, as you should be. I know you guys are still basking, and I love that. I really appreciate you guys. I've literally gotten to know some of you guys, which is cool. I feel like I know a lot of you guys just from the chat. So really appreciate you being part of our Bucknuts family. That's what it feels like. Speaking of family, food, and football, hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. I'll be with you on Friday with J Book. No Bucknuts Morning 5 tomorrow for Thanksgiving, so just enjoy the family, food, and football. And I'll be with you with the man J Book for BTA Fridays. So appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Go Bucks.